Hi, this is just a very quick summary of my journey with what appears to be vaccine damage. I had 2 Pfizer vaccinations back in 2020, being in the 65 to 70 age group. I was one of the first, had my first one and then the second one a few weeks later, no problems. And then a few months later, running a park run, I was going quite well, and suddenly at about 4 kilometers of this 5K race, I was seized by a vice-like grip that just gripped my entire body. It felt terrible. I couldn't isolate a point. There wasn't a point of pain anywhere. It was just I couldn't move properly. I couldn't run properly, and I struggled through to the finish and was pouring with sweat when I finished. And then I just sort of dismissed it. I thought, oh, well, that was just a strange thing. For a while I thought, was I having a heart attack? No, I definitely wasn't having a heart attack. I don't know what it was. And I dismissed it and I forgot all about it. And I had 2 or 3 more weeks of fantastic running. And then again, wham, in the middle of yet another park run, it hit me. And my wife, who in those days, she now thrashes me all the time, but in those days used to finish 2-3 minutes behind me, caught me with about 2 kilometers to go. And she could see I was bent over. I was struggling to get oxygen, and I was battling with just a sort of a vice-like clamping, unable to move. My legs felt like lead trying to lift them, and she said to me, "Are you all right?" And my answer was, "No, I'm not all right." And so I went in after that to see a cardiologist who ran a battery of tests and could find absolutely nothing wrong with my heart. So he said, "Go out and carry on going. But if it happens again, then we have to really get serious and do some serious tests." And it did happen again. In the middle of a half marathon, I'd been cruising along completely comfortably, and suddenly I realized I was struggling to breathe and I was really battling. And so that was straight into Mill Park Hospital, where they checked me in and they did a battery of tests there, starting with my lungs. One of the benefits of this whole thing is that I found out, actually, apart from the vaccine damage, I'm in great shape because they did a whole lot of tests of my lungs, and my lungs are 150% of normal. I have a 3rd lung. So it wasn't the lungs. So then the experts decided that it had to be clots. I must have clots all over my body that are causing the obstructions and causing me to breathe badly. And so I had iodine injected, and I had that test done. Surprise, surprise, no clots whatsoever. So that sounded like good news. But then the experts said to me, no, in fact, it is not good news, Bruce, because there is only one alternative left. And that is that your coronary arteries are blocked, and that you're probably going to have some stents put in, or even worse, possibly a bypass, because that is the only thing that's left. And your cholesterol is very high, and we're concerned about your cholesterol, 6.3. I wanted to tell them I'm not concerned about my cholesterol at all. I'm wise enough and have learned enough to know that cholesterol is not necessarily your enemy. There are other causes. But anyway, so that was now the 3rd battery of tests took place, and I was given an angiogram under general anesthetic, and they told me before I went in I had to sign permission that if we find these when we find these blocks, we will either put in a stent or else we are going to do a bypass. So I was terrified, and I said to my wife, Jill, I think my life has changed forever. And then I came out of the anesthetic, and the doctors were standing there, and they said, we don't know what to say. Your coronary arteries are wide open. There is nothing wrong with any of them. And I could have told them that before the operation. And I also could have told them I'm not a medical person. Why would I have 2 weeks of great running and then one incident if my coronary arteries were blocked? I would have had no good runs, surely. None at all, because I would have had malfunctioning coronary arteries all the time. But they didn't know what to say. And so eventually the one doctor left me with this, we think it's some kind of myocarditis. And at that point, I was in despair, so I turned to my very good friend, Tim Noakes, and he said, you've got to see Dr. Zandra Buerta. And I went to her and had the test with her, and she showed me the absolutely appalling condition of my blood. The slide she showed me was terrifying. It looked like a hydra of different ropes of red blood cells stuck together, some kind of squirming millions of snakes, and in amongst it, chunks of metal. The naysayers would say to me, yes, those are the signs of a long COVID. You have long COVID, because I caught COVID, which is fascinating. I've never in my life had another vaccination where you have a vaccination and yet you still catch the disease. I mean, I, like all children, had the polio vaccination. I never got polio, but I've had two COVID vaccinations and I still got COVID. So anyway, they said it's long COVID. And then my answer to them was, well, what are the pieces of graphene and what are the heavy metals doing floating around in long COVID? They are not there because of long COVID. They are there for some other reason. And so, bless her, Dr. Zandra Botha treated me. It was a long and protracted journey, and with lots of, as I thought I was getting there, a little bit of a setback, another bad incident, but greater and greater periods of no problems whatsoever. And touch wood, it's been since April, the Two Oceans Half Marathon, I struggled with the same issues. That was April. Since then, I've had absolutely no problems whatsoever. I'm taking nattokinase, however you pronounce it, bromelain, NAC, some iron, and I go back every few months for a checkup. And the last checkup I had, the slide was brilliant. There were nice fluffy white cells. There was no clotting or clogging, and all my red blood cells seemed to be going happily along. So that is my story, and let's put it this way, I'm not taking another vaccination.